Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Alex and I'm a back care specialized yoga teacher. Today I'm going to give you 10 tips on how to practice yoga with scoliosis. Now pay attention to the fact that these are just some quick guidelines and tips on how to practice yoga with scoliosis. Remember that everyone is different. Besides the fact that we might have different scoliosis structures, we might be of different ages and have different lifestyles and backgrounds, and even between two people with very similar scoliosis, sometimes what works for one person doesn't work the same for the other. So you'll need to find what works best for you and your specific needs. Study your X-ray. So first of all, you need to understand how your spine looks in order to be able to work with it. So understanding how many curves your lateral curves, so how many scoliotic curves your spine has, which way they go, and the direction of your rotation, which is usually included in structural scoliosis. Without knowing these factors, it's quite impossible to understand what your spine would benefit from and what could actually aggravate the situation. Point number 2, restore when in acute pain. This should go without saying, but I'm just going to throw it out there anyway. If you are in acute pain, please don't work out, don't overwork your muscles even more, but take your time to rest. So if you really want to do something, perhaps restorative yoga could be a good option. One of my favorite poses when I have low back pain is Viparita Karani, or legs up the wall. You can use a chair instead as well. Use your breath. So something we do a lot of in yoga in general, but slightly different when it comes to yoga for scoliosis is using the breath and how we use it. What we try to do is to create space by using the inhales in all those places where there is less space in the body. And the reason for this when it comes to, or how we do this when it comes to yoga for scoliosis, is to, first of all, of course, know your structure, know your scoliotic pattern structure. And when there is a curve in the thoracic area, it means that one of the two lungs, meaning on the concave side of the curvature, the lung will be a little bit more compressed. There will be less space for that lung. So what we do is to open up from the inside using the breath, sending it to that concave side in order to expand and also strengthen the lung in this way. Open your scoliotic curves through passive and active poses. And we do this through back bends and side bends. And of course, you need to know your scoliotic structure here in order to know which side to open up, in which way. When I say passive and active poses, I mean like passive poses is more like yin poses. Can even be something like bananasana, or like laying on a rolled up blanket, laying on your back on a rolled up blanket underneath your chest or the apex of the curvature more or less, in order to create more alignment. And we do want to kind of blend the passive and the active poses in our yoga practice, not necessarily in the same session, but in general to have both these practices, since they go and they target different tissues inside the body. They kind of go hand in hand, and you can just skip one of them if you want the full benefits. Traction, or lengthening of the spine. We don't use machines or anything like that to do this. Usually we use our body's strength, and this actually helps to realign the spine a little, and it creates that space in between the vertebrae. So the intervertebral discs gets more space and fills up, get a chance to fill up a little bit more with fluid. It lengthens some of the muscles around the spine, and I have to say it's quite pleasurable at the end of the day after you've been sitting or walking or standing for hours. Legs and hip flexors. So I feel that this is something that often gets overlooked in back health in general, but the fact is that the whole body is connected through muscular fascia. And this means that you can have pain in one area of the body and it comes from a completely different area. This is often the case when it comes to low back pain. Many times it has to do with hip flexors or the back of the legs. So stretching your hamstrings and also your quadriceps, and often when we do that we also stretch the psoas muscles, which are the same as the hip flexors. The hip flexors are one of our deepest muscles, and it's basically the only muscle. We have two of them, but they are the only muscles that connect the spine directly to the legs. They attach to the sides of your lowest vertebrae and run along the groins and then attach to the inside of your femur. If they are short, they start to pull on those lower vertebrae and they basically create that duck butt, your butt sticking out a little, and compresses the low back. So this is just a very small example, and we can create traction, we can side bend, but if we don't open these parts of the body as well, the psoas muscle will start to pull your spine into that scoliotic pattern again. So this is just one small indication of why we need to work with the whole body and not just the spine itself, not just the back. Core strength. So I feel like the core is one of the basics for physical health. It kind of creates that inner corset, helps to protect the spine and maintain space in between the vertebrae. It's also the area from where our movements origin. Just remember that the core is not just the abdominals, but it's also the back and the sides of that same area, of the center of the body basically. And we do work in a particular way with the core in some poses when it comes to scoliosis. We try to realign the spine and kind of work with the core as we try to keep alignment. Derotation of the spine, or twists. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, when it comes to structural scoliosis, which is the more, let's call it, chronic scoliosis, there is usually a rotational component involved as well. So knowing which direction your rotation goes, one way to think of it is if you have the hump on your right shoulder, so your right shoulder blade sticks out more, it probably means that the rotation goes that way. And it is possible to derotate the spine to some degree with twists and poses like that. Here as well, I would suggest working both on active and passive poses. Just never force your body into twist. This goes for everyone, not just people with scoliosis. Using the muscles of your spine and your core basically to twist. Your hands, whenever they are there it kind of seems like you are supposed to use them to twist. They're actually just there for support, and usually it is in order to lengthen the spine as you twist. This is also really important, that you create length before you twist. Proprioception, I like that word. It basically means knowing where your body is in space. It's not really something that comes to us at the beginning of a practice, but it's something that we want to learn to understand how to align the body and how to hold a better posture. Not just posture in the sense of not hunching the back or slouching, however you say that. In the sense of realigning the spine a little. So holding your back upright a bit more than what you're doing at the moment, perhaps. And this can be quite strange for someone with scoliosis because we feel straight when we are curved. As you practice, using a mirror can actually be a great thing when it comes to scoliosis. And to see how does it feel when you are in alignment. It will become easier and easier to understand even without a mirror. Hopefully this is something that will come naturally to you as you sit at work or school, or you're out walking with the dog. This one, balance between strength and stretching. And this is something that goes for everyone. It's not just for people with scoliosis, but it's important to balance those two factors. So strengthening the body and stretching the body. Because if we do only one of those two, we will go to one of the two extremes. So either gets poor flexibility if we only work on strengthening the body, and the other way around, kind of if we work only on flexibility, we will become quite unstable in our joints. You need to understand where you are right now. What do you need to work more on? Usually, younger people, this is just a guideline, really just take it as a guideline, you need to see for yourself, but younger people might be a bit more flexible, and now I'm talking more about people with scoliosis, and need to work more with strengthening the body. As for older people, might be a bit more rigid in the body. Doesn't mean that they don't have to strengthen, but opening up, maybe with some passive poses to start with, can be a good idea. But again, you need to see where you are in your journey, what kind of lifestyle you have, and start from wherever you are. So those were the 10 tips I had for you. They are kind of the basics for yogaing with scoliosis. But I do have like a bonus tip for you. This last bonus tip is rest. Give yourself the permission to rest. And now I'm not just saying this as for when you are in pain, but in general, give yourself the permission to rest. You deserve it, and your body needs it to restore and to stay away from pain. It's an essential pillar for how to take care of your body. And if you can't give yourself the permission to rest, I'm giving you the permission right now. Okay, so thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed these tips and that you learned something today. I'd like you to comment below something that you didn't know before. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more. And I'll see you soon.